a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
Reach your highest level of consciousness and well-being with metamorphosisconnections.com. Metamorphosisconnections.com is an online directory of the best holistic and metaphysical practitioners to help you make your most informed choices. You can search metamorphosisconnections.com for classes, events, wellness and life coaches, plus metaphysical products and shops. You can also search for a wide array of healers from all modalities, including EFT, sound healing, energy healing, light therapy, ancestral healing, shamanic healing, reflexology, past life regressions, hypnotherapy, yoga, and more. And if you're not sure where to start, the search feature on metamorphosisconnections.com is tailored to help both those who know what they are looking for and those who are just starting. Come explore the possibilities for your higher self by visiting metamorphosisconnections.com. Their experienced practitioners can guide both beginners and those that are already on their spiritual journey. That's metamorphosisconnection.com, your link to direct you on your spiritual transformation.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Partly cloudy tonight with a low of 18 below, wind chills down to 34 below. Then Tuesday, cloudy with a high of 7 above, but wind chills of 32 below. The Great Wall Restaurant has been serving up Mandarin and Sichuan favorites for almost 45 years. Check them out on France Avenue along the Minneapolis-Edina City line just north of 50th Street or at greatwallrestaurant.us.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us. Share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story. This is our story. This is GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun.
And this is GhostBox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you very much for joining me on this MLK Day, on this rather freezing cold Monday. My God. We're going to get to that in a second. We cannot just let that go, okay? It's pretty crazy. But first of all, I put on, for those of you who follow me on social media, I always put out a list of the guests that we're going to have on during the week. And as soon as I put this out yesterday, saying who's going to be on the show this week, Rick McCallum reached out to me and said he's not able to make it tonight. And him and I have been kind of going back and forth, mainly because I've been sick the last couple of weeks and took some time to myself. I'll explain more about that in a little bit. But he's like, I'm unable to make it tonight. I'm so sorry. And I'm like, I canceled the last time. So theoretically, he's going to be with me next week. I mean, we've been doing this since December 9th or something like that. So, it's just how it goes. And we're going to be talking about, if you don't know who Rick is he's a stuntman out in the movies, and he has joined forces years ago, actually, and a paranormal team with folks like Kane Hodder. You may know Kane. He has played Jason in Friday the 13th and some of the movies. So it's he's out there, and he's a real fun guy, really good guy, and we're gonna get him on eventually. So I thought, if we can't get Rick on tonight, I'm just gonna kind of do my own thing here, talk about some of the stuff that's been going on, talk about some of the paranormal stuff that's been happening. I also want to kind of keep it as well to what's on your mind. Put it into the comments. Let me know what you are thinking. Because that's what I love to know. Is I love to kind of see what you all have on your mind on a paranormal basis and all that good stuff. So yeah, put it in the comments. Let me know. And otherwise, I'm just going to carry on over here. That's just kind of how it works. And I want to start off by letting you all know one of the things I'm not going to really get into tonight is Dr. Stephen Greer. For those of you who've been following, Dr. Stephen Greer has been around for a while talking about, what he knows about UFOs, what he knows about aliens on Earth. And so, he had said last week that he was going to be releasing some footage, going to be talking about some stuff. And he did release some stuff. Newsmax put some stuff out there over the past weekend. And I do plan on talking about it. We'll probably talk about it a little bit on Casual Friday. But then a week from tonight, Anthony F. Sanchez, who we've had on the program many times with his books that he talks about, UFOs, aliens, everything else, I asked if he would come on and weigh in what he thinks of everything that's been going on. So it's going to be a great conversation. And by that point, maybe more will come out. Maybe there'll be more ideas. Maybe there'll be some follow-up. Who knows? But I think that's a good time to kind of let it sink in a little bit. And then we can kind of have this conversation again down the line, which would be a week from tonight, talking about all that. So that's I just wanted to let people know in case you put into the comments and I was like, oh, I want to talk about that. We can, but I want to actually talk about that a little bit further down the line. Now, for those of you, we do talk about the weather on here on occasion. And in Minnesota today, up until I think noon tomorrow, we are in what's called an extreme cold warning. Okay. I'm going to pull this up here because it's ridiculous to start with. So for those of you who care, and some of you who are listening in like warmer states, take note of this. Extreme cold warning remains in effect until 10 a.m. Central Standard Time Tuesday. It's dangerously cold wind chills will drop to between 35 and 40 degrees below zero. If you wondered if you heard me correctly, dangerously cold wind chills will drop to between 35 and 40 degrees below zero. That's insane. That's frightening. Once again, I would love to say, I don't have to say, make sure your pets are inside, right? That shouldn't be something I would need to say, but it is, isn't it? It's exactly what you have to say to those who are just like, well, that's awesome. Well, anyway, see you tomorrow, Spot. It's folks, please make sure your pets are inside. Okay. Let your dog out to do his business, but make sure that you are, making sure that they're safe. There's been a lot of kind souls I've been noticing on Facebook, especially community pages. They're like, oh, we picked up this animal that we've just seen roaming around the street. Like, and I don't mean like, a deer or something. I mean like cats and dogs. And, if this is yours, let us know or whatever else. And that's just human kindness. And I love that. Matter of fact, there was one, I just had seen before the show started in the Anoka page, and the little kitty cat named Tiger that they were looking for a home for Tiger, and I almost reached out to see if Tiger was still available, but Linus said no, and you might be like, well, what? And for those who've been following my Linus story here, that Linus passed away back in December, you might be like, well, what do you mean he said no? Folks, I'm into paranormal. Okay, we talk to spirits, and it doesn't have to just be spirits of people. It's spirits of our loved ones, our little animals, and everything else. So, I asked him, and using pendulum and stuff, and asked if Linus should I get Tiger, and he said no. Funny enough. So basically, it's one of those things that you just end up, believing. I know that there's going to be people out there who are just like, what? He's using a pendulum to talk to his dead cat. Yes, I am. we'll talk more about that in a second. One of the things last time I was on, we had this really amazing live show from the Anderson House in Wabasha, Minnesota, because we had this big para fair that weekend, and we did that live show. If you remember that, we had all these paranormal groups in the room with me, and we'd bring them on. It was really fun. It was a lot of fun, actually, that night, and I hope that you had a chance to listen. And if not, check it out. It's podcasted. But we had some great conversations that night, and everyone was on a high afterwards. And I really think that was super cool. So the next day was the start of the para fair, and I want to thank Becky and Pays, who put this on over at the Anderson House. Becky manages the Anderson House, and it was a lot of fun. And it's really one of those things that I just, the energy was really good. And I don't tend to do stuff with paranormal teams. I'm going to be very honest, and not because I'm better than them, but because it's tough for me. The difference in investigating styles is a little bit different. And I tend not to do stuff with teams and whatnot. But that weekend, there were probably about 7-8 teams, if not more. There's a lot of different folks there, and we all just had a great time. And that's down to Becky and Pays with their philosophy of, let's just have some fun here, folks. Let's have a good weekend. And we did. And it was really a fun experience. And thank you very much for that. And I also want to kind of do a shout out here to look up the Anderson House. It's in Wabasha, Minnesota. And even though it's haunted, it's also the Anderson House is a great location for a weekend away. It has a great restaurant. Wabasha itself is a fantastic city that is up against the Mississippi River. If you want to get away, look up the Anderson House, go and book a room. There's a lot to do, actually, even just on the main street where the Anderson House is located. Check it out. Give Becky a call over there, see what you can do. If you get a room or something, just let them know that you heard about it through us, because we really want to promote good businesses like that. So that's definitely it was really a lot of fun out there. I did a presentation, and a lot of you have listened to me ad nauseum talk about my experiences with aliens, UFOs, that sort of thing. And let me tell you, first of all, it's not bad telling you all about these experiences, because I can't see your faces, right? I mean, that's the main thing about it. I cannot see any of you looking at me, because you're not looking at me. So I did this presentation over at the Anderson House, and I talked about aliens. I talked about careful for what you wish for, you're going to get it. CE5 experiments, all that stuff. And that was really the first time that I had this crazy sort of like, I can see your reaction. I can see all these people when I'm telling them this story. And to me, it looked like that like my credibility was running away rapidly as I'm telling this story to them and telling them my experiences. Other people had told me afterwards that they thought people were riveted in there. I don't know what to believe, but talk about exposing yourself, right? I mean, honestly, really peeling away a layer there. And there's people I knew there, people I didn't know there. But the thing that was absolutely crazy for me that weekend was that I started off talking about how I used to do, and I'd love to do them again, these weekly spirit box sessions, because that's what got me the first interaction with aliens, so the spirit box. And I talked about, because one of the things that I wanted to mention was the fact that Linus was normally at these spirit box sessions, and he took part in them. As a cat, as any animal, if you see an animal, stick around, that's a good thing when you're doing something like this. If they take off, that's something that might be a problem. And I just wanted to make note of that. Now, I have talked with you all about Linus and losing him and what he meant to me. And I talked about it a number of times, and I never broke down on the air about it. But here I am in front of all these people, and there's about 35, maybe 40 in the room. Some I know, a lot I didn't know. And I start talking about just what I said, and I broke down. The first time I broke down. And I mean, I have never broke down in front of anybody about anything. I mean, my parents, we're talking about my parents, I've never done so, who both passed, talking about, just all sorts of things. I just never have done it before. And once I started talking about him and what he meant to me during these and just that he was always there, I lost it. I mean, I didn't like become a sobbing mess, but enough where I, had to stop and collect myself and stuff. And you always have that one person that you can hear in the background when you kind of lose it, and you just hear someone in the background, oh, like pity on me, it's just like, oh, come on. And it's just like, oh my gosh. And I guess I needed to do it. I guess that needed to happen publicly, apparently. And it's just incredible. It's just incredible. It's incredible. It was like a month since he's passed, and talking about it was always just about, let's just talk about it. It's just something to talk about. And then suddenly it just became very difficult. And I broke down. Also, so, after all that and then thinking that I have, scared away everyone I knew with my stories, but I don't think it really happened that way. But it's just always hard to gauge, right? So always hard to gauge what people really think. People coming up to you afterwards, well, that was interesting. He was like, yeah, it was interesting, thanks. I think you were the one that was asleep 3 rows back, weren't you? Anyway, I get home Sunday, and I'm tired. I ate some food. I went and got some high quality fast food, and I ended up taking a nap. And I get up after the nap, and I go in another room, and suddenly this dizzy spell hit me. I mean, I've been dizzy before, but not like this, where everything was circling rapidly, absolutely rapidly. And I thought, wisely, I'm going to get back to the bed and lay down and let it pass. Anyone who's been dizzy knows you don't really move like in the direction you're thinking you're going to move. I went back to the bed, but I crashed into the bed, and I still have a big bruise on my leg from that. And I get back and I lay in everything. It's just circling. I've never experienced before. It's scary. And, for a minute, because it didn't go away right away, I thought, is this the new me? Honestly, those sort of things kind of hit your mind, right? You're just like, is this me now? Is this, and how do I get help? Because I can't see anything. Everything's circling. And finally, it slows down and stops. And I wait in bed for probably about 20 minutes. Like, I just knew that getting up right away is not a smart move. And one of the things I noticed was, because it's so rapid, the dizziness, that my stomach was very upset. And so about 20 minutes, I get up and I'm standing, and it's like, okay, it's not starting. Everything is fine. I'm not dizzy. But let's just put it this way. Like I said, being that dizzy got me very sick, actually. And I went and I had to be sick, if you get my drift. Just horrible. It was at that point I realized, this is self-diagnosis, that I'm pretty sure it was really down to dehydration. But also I've been, and this has been a busy month, and I'm not the only person busy, but it was very, I realized that I needed to take a step back and get some rest and just kind of relax. So I wasn't on last week at all, and decided just to kind of take some time and just kind of relax. I mean, literally, like, going to bed. When I'm doing this show, I go to bed around 1 a.m. because you get so wrapped up and you get so, worked into your schedule and whatnot. last week I'm going to bed like at 8 p.m. And slowly I started to realize that I'm now up in the middle of the night. So it was clearly I was getting better. And also one of the things, I'm not good with water. I don't like water, which is kind of a shame because that's kind of what you need to survive. But anyway, I've been drinking lots and lots and lots of water. So like five bottles a day. Just kind of really trying to, because that wasn't a good experience. And I'd like to think that one can learn from experiences like that very quickly. So it really, that was something. So that's why I wasn't here last week. There's all the guests that I had last week. We just moving around, got a lot of great things coming up. What I would like to do, though, is I would love to take a break here. When we come back, I want to talk about a podcast that I took part in a couple weeks ago, recorded. It dropped today. I want to talk about it because I also want to talk about the subject, which once again is paranormal television. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950.
Reach your highest level of consciousness and well-being with MetamorphosisConnections.com. MetamorphosisConnections.com is an online directory of the best holistic and metaphysical practitioners to help you make your most informed choices. You can search MetamorphosisConnections.com for classes, events, wellness and life coaches, plus metaphysical products and shops. You can also search for a wide array of healers from all modalities, including EFT, sound healing, energy healing, light therapy, ancestral healing, shamanic healing, reflexology, past life regressions, hypnotherapy, yoga, and more. And if you're not sure where to start, the search feature on MetamorphosisConnections.com is tailored to help both those who know what they are looking for and those who are just starting. Come explore the possibilities for your higher self by visiting MetamorphosisConnections.com. Their experienced practitioners can guide both beginners and those that are already on their spiritual journey. That's MetamorphosisConnection.com, your link to direct you on your spiritual transformation.
Lilliput in Coon Rapids dares you to take part in their Haunted Mansion escape room. 100 years ago, a family suffered a tragic incident. Your team is brought in to find out what happened that night, find proof of the supernatural, and help the spirits find peace. Are you up for the task? This incredible escape room is filling up fast, so book now. Also, a perfect outing for work team building. Go to lilliput.net now to book your experience today. Greg Bakun here. Like many of you, I still collect physical books, and not just any books, but books about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. I go to Megas Books and Herbs, located in the Arts District of Minneapolis, but books are only part of it. Megas Books and Herbs offers crystals, jewelry, herbs, oils, and consultations on how to use this stuff. Check out their in-store classes and events too. This place has everything to expand your horizons. Located at 1848 Central Avenue, Minneapolis, or visit megasbooks.com.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. Recently, I had a large order of custom designed t-shirts that needed to be turned around in a hurry. I knew exactly who to call. Grady Gear Company. Grady Gear Company is a local company that handles large and small custom clothing and apparel orders. I had a lot of questions from color, shirt quality, and what sizes we needed. Grady Gear Company was great to work with. They got us what we needed on time, and now everybody's looking great around the station in their new gear. Start your order at GradyGearCo.com.
Greg Bakun here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville. You know, with my appetite returning last week, I have to admit that Maverick sounds really good right now. I'd love to go out there. I've been saying for so long, we need to get a group of people together and let's just do a group trip out there because I am really hungry for good food. And during this sickness, I didn't really have an appetite. Like the weekend I was at the Anderson, it wasn't even that I didn't have an appetite. I couldn't taste anything. Like my taste buds went away. And there was a day like Monday or Tuesday last week, I got some food and my taste buds returned and it was like, whoa, what is this? This was amazing. And I don't need a whole lot to entice me to eat food. So I was really happy about that. So if we ever, folks, if you want to go and get a trip down to Maverick someday, let's do that. Let's get that going, because if you haven't been, I don't like to guarantee stuff, but I guarantee you're going to like it. That's the difference right there. If you like roast beef sandwiches, and just really good food. So I want to talk about here, the Friday I was at the Anderson house. I was very lucky, and I do mean this. I was very honored, actually, to be asked to take part in a panel discussion on the podcast Supernatural Circumstances, and the episode is called Unmasking Illusion, Paranormal Television. And I was first of all hosted by Morgan Knudsen and Mike Brown. And I've had Morgan on the show a couple times. The most recent one was her explaining her experiences with Dogman. And if you haven't seen that or listened to it, go check it out. It's a phenomenal episode. It's very similar to my Bigfoot experiences, and her approach is very similar to the approach that I learned from folks like Greg Yost and Ernie Pack and Denise Pack. That's those people. So right away, Morgan and I, we really found a connection of how to experience these things, and it really helps with reaching out to spirits and other things as well. They're all connected, and you've heard me talk about this before. But so this podcast, this episode of Supernatural Circumstances, Unmasking Illusion, Paranormal Television, this panel, it had not only Morgan and Mike on it, but Jason Hewlett, who's a Canadian Paranormal Society, and author Chad Lewis, Backroads Lore, and which I've been a huge fan of Chad's for a very long time, and have wanted to have him on the program myself. And I didn't realize that these amazing people are going to be on. And we had this very interesting conversation about paranormal television. And you got to listen to the episode. It's podcasted everywhere. So please, I ask that you please give it a listen, because not so much for my input, but what Chad and Jason and Morgan and Mike have to say, which truly some great stuff here. But I remember preparing for being recorded for this, and I was thinking to myself, because I'm not a fan of paranormal television, really, to be perfectly honest. There are some programs I like, but generally I stay away from it as much as I can. And so I'm all prepared here to just kind of be like, oh, I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't like all this stuff. And then I thought to myself, I'm really doing a disservice here for a lot of reasons. And that why can't I find positivity in this? Because there is positivity in paranormal television. And that was also one of the reasons 2 weeks ago when I recorded, I had for our question of the week on Friday, what is your purpose for watching paranormal television? And that was partially why I wanted to get a sort of like for myself, perhaps a reminder about how paranormal television, it serves a lot of purposes. I think what frustrates me about it is when you have people who think of that as this is how paranormal investigations work, and this is what you should expect, and this is how you should act in certain situations, and that is frustrating when it's done poorly. But I've had people who answered that question on Friday, and they're talking about, I love seeing these historic locations. I like seeing places that I've never been to that does paranormal investigations, and maybe I can go there someday. I like seeing some of the new equipment. I like seeing how people are investigating. And that was a great reminder for myself that it's very easy to have this sort of this line of, well, because I'm a paranormal investigator myself, therefore I'm against what the shows are doing, and that's simply not true. There are things that are frustrating, but it's there should be more to it than that. It shouldn't be so one dimensional as that. So it really helped me think about stuff, and I also remember it goes back to my roots, and probably roots of many of my peers that and not all but many, I think, that we probably got started being interested in wondering what it'd be like to be a paranormal investigator from watching the shows. And there's nothing wrong with that. And it's very easy to dog something like Ghost Adventures. But that was the first show I watched. It wasn't Ghost Hunters, it was Ghost Adventures. And I think once you get into it and you want to do more with it, I think where you could really learn something, though, is knowing that paranormal television, if that's inspiring you to be an investigator, just remember that the first and foremost, the purpose of paranormal television is entertainment. It's entertainment to people, because people want to be I think people want to be scared. I used to kind of like that with some of the Ghost Adventures episodes, like at the Goldfield Hotel. I mean, it's like, this is one of those places I would love to investigate still. And I was able to be outside of it once, and there's pictures of me outside of it. I'm touched it and whatever else, but I'd love to investigate it. But ultimately, this is a situation where I watched the shows. I decided the route I wanted to take in paranormal, and I found people who are like-minded in terms, so they were able to also, I guess, educate me about the difference between paranormal television and how paranormal investigations worked, and I evolved my style and who I am from that, and that's a positive, and I kind of remember that. I think what we talk about, though, in the podcast, which really is worth a listen, is the fact that it's very difficult, though, because it is still, I would say 95% of what's on television for paranormal. Now, nothing's really being made new per se, apart from some programs like Haunted Discoveries, and I think that's on True TV. It's very tough because it's still, you have these people that so many people look up to, who are in the field, but also people who are just viewers and stuff. And it's not so much like producers are like, okay, do your stuff, do your investigation, we'll capture it on video or whatever. It becomes more of, and we talk about this, and Morgan has a really good example of a term that she doesn't just use. It's an accepted term in the paranormal community, and I don't remember if she says what it is or not. You got to listen to it, but they don't, the producers don't think it's a good term, and they want to rename it because it's not flashy enough or whatever. And she sits there and she's just like, I can't do that. It's not what it's called. And we have a conversation about, that's a really good example of how paranormal is truly not accepted as anything other than it's not respected. I think maybe let's just be as honest as that. It's not respected amongst, especially in the media. It's a curiosity, something that can sometimes be laughed at. And to people like myself and Morgan and the folks that were on that panel, this isn't something that we take as like a hobby or anything. And many of the people I know who are listening tonight, who I know, this is beyond a hobby. This is a lifestyle. This is what we do to help other people. Could you imagine if like there's a medical podcast, medical television show and producers like, we don't really like the word cancer. Can we come up with something else? They'd be sued. I mean, it's just, I mean, there's just goes to show that, I'm not saying, and maybe I am saying it, because I was going to say, I'm not saying that it's paranormal field's as important as the medical field. It is, because it does mean a lot to me. It's helpful. And, anything that we put out there, whether it's about the medical field, legal, whatever else, or the paranormal, we want it to be treated with respect, and we want it to be accurately depicted. And right now, and for the foreseeable future, it's always going to be where it is looked at as more of, like I said earlier, entertainment. And that's what it's going to end up being for a very long time, I think. And we talk about in the podcast, well, how do we change it? How does it change? And I personally don't think it can change per se. The best I can do is take this little area of the paranormal, my little corner of it, my little patch of land called GhostBox Radio, and do my very best to give people who listen the best opportunity to hear what I think is very reputable and very hopefully useful information for people to understand, because I think there's a lot of people who watch paranormal shows and they see it like the Haunted Mansion at Walt Disney World, where what they really want is a thrill ride. And these shows kind of do that. There's, scary, but not too scary. The idea of like, well, you could get, an attachment or something. It doesn't really mean anything to them. I mean, they're all like, this doesn't really happen, does it? So that's the thing. And that's something that there is something about that where it's always nice to have that sort of like, well, it is kind of, there are some spooky moments and stuff. And I like the other people like to kind of tell some of those stories. So that have been kind of scary at times and got through it, or that voicemail that I played from using the Ouija board. I mean, it's interesting stuff to play, but at the same time that there's more to it than that, and that there is serious research being done, parapsychology, there is serious work being done, and that it shouldn't be ignored. And I want to talk a little bit more about this. I'll talk about my experiences almost getting a show and what that meant as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. If you put it into the comments, do you disagree with anything I'm saying? Do you see it differently? Because it's something that, there is no one size for this. There's no one opinion from this. There's a lot of opinions on it. Our panel that talked about it all, that's one aspect of it. So obviously want to know what everybody else thinks about it as well. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some other stuff as well. We have a lot of stuff coming up here, and boy, it moves quickly, doesn't it? Come back. Let's talk more about paranormal television, your thoughts, and other things. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. I love historic tours of Minneapolis and seeing everything it has to offer. But if you know me, I like to include a little spooky in my tours, which is why I found the perfect combination. Minneapolis Trolley Tours does this amazing candlelight ghost tour that you have to check out. It's an extremely immersive experience. It's a trolley trip that starts out at a haunted mansion, traveling around Minneapolis locations exposing ghost stories that the public and business owners would rather left untold. Then a tour of the aforementioned haunted mansion where ghosts of past residents from the 1800s reside, plus a lot of surprises to discover. Next, experience Gertrude's After Hours. Did I mention Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information. Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey, bacon, avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com. What you wear is important. It should be fun, creative, and expressive of your own personality. At Grady Gear Company, we believe that clothing is more than just fabric and threads. It's a form of self-expression and a way to stand out from the crowd. Grady Gear is more than just a clothing brand. We're a community. We're here to inspire and motivate you to embrace your true self. We are a locally owned small business who do custom clothing orders too. Find us at GradyGearCompany.com. Have you ever met someone who not only can help you on a deep spiritual level, but also potentially change your life? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who travels the nation and lives right here in the Midwest. And she offers mediumship, mentorship, house and business parties, energy healing, palm readings, and so much more. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
Hi, this is Psychic Medium Deb. I cannot wait to hear from you. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
And join me tomorrow on GhostBox Radio. We're going to kind of move away from paranormal for a night, and you'll have to indulge me here because one of my favorite topics is film restoration. And I'm going to have on tomorrow Charlotte and Adam. They do a podcast called Perf Damage, P-E-R-F Damage, meaning like film perforation, you know, like goes on the side of the films. Like I said, I'm a big fan of film restoration. Charlotte does film restoration. Matter of fact, one of the most recent films that she worked on is White Christmas, and that 4K release just came out. And I watched the podcast where she explained in great detail how she went about with the restoration process. And it's to me, it's very amazing. I hope that you will appreciate it as well, because these are important. It's important to do this. And I'd love to listen to what they have to say about, you know, the role that they play working on this, some of the stuff that is not necessarily, that are more of barriers and, you know, the usual stuff. And I think it's going to be a great episode. Wednesday, we see the return of psychic medium Refined Divine doing one question readings. So get ready to call in, get ready to put your comments in the comments section. What we're going to do is, as usual, have one question readings that Deb can help you navigate through life. And we'll talk more about that Wednesday. Thursday, we're going to replay an episode actually from August of 2023, but it's still a great message. Kedrick Olson. We're going to be playing the episode that had him on, talking about unlocking your multidimensional self. And then, of course, we'll be back live Friday with Casual Friday. So a lot of great stuff that's coming up. And I really hope that you will join us for all those. We are talking about a lot of different things tonight. Paranormal television being one of them. Before we go any further, though, I do want to quickly say, for those of you who are Doctor Who fans like myself, today, January 20th, is Tom Baker's 91st birthday. He played the fourth Doctor, and he's really, still, I think, is still one of the most popular Doctors. And I'm a big fan of it. In fact, I have at the end of the month here, I'm taking part. I am a guest of sorts. I am called an attending professional at the Doctor Who convention console room. And that's going to have a doctor there, Peter Davison, Nicola Bryant, who played Perry. I'm not playing anything. I'm going to be doing a live show there on Friday, but I'm also interviewing Peter and Nicola on stage separately. And then I'm going to be doing a couple presentations myself. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you are interested in attending this convention, and please do, it's a really fun convention. Go to console-room.org, console-room.org, and sign up. And if you're there, please come by, say hi. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's fun every year, even for a convention that's in January. So it's 31st is, I think, when it starts. What if that's the Friday 31st? So it's great. So please come on out, check it out. It's going to be good. We are talking about paranormal television. Paul Scott says that I am more interested in the science side, the demonology, the science of taxonomy of spirits. And thank you for that, Paul. I really appreciate the comment. And you've heard me before, folks. I am very, very interested in demonology. I'm not going to lie. And I know that freaks people out. And I appreciate that. You got to be respectful of all of this. But I will say that it is really it's demonology just interests me so much, and I've wanted to be a demonologist for a while, but I don't think I ever will, because there is so much to that. And when I say that, is you're basically putting your possibly your life on the line to do it. You don't take that decision lightly. And you got to also be careful to find the right people who can train you. And I see people who are trained by other people, and in my personal opinion, it's laughable, because it is, these people, and a lot of people will like read Bible verses on investigation. They'll be like, I'm a demonologist. And that is certainly not the case. It's something you have to really, you really have to be careful for, and you have to be continually in the right frame of mind is not quite what I'm getting at here, but you have to be in the right sort of a personal space to be able to take on what's coming your way. And I remember reaching out to somebody because there was a situation that I thought there was some sort of demon sort of situation, and that is not something. And Courtney says vibration. I'll go with that. Right vibration. Right space. All that stuff is very important. There was a situation I thought some sort of possible demon or something was involved. And I say that, I don't say that lightly. I mean that, and I reached out to somebody who I knew was a demonologist, and I reached out to them and I said, hey, I think we have a situation here. Can you help me? And I explained the situation. And this person's response basically was, just send it all my way. And I don't mean like the case. I mean, he's just like, tell the demon to come and take me on. And, I'll deal with it. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And demonology is not about being a hero, okay? You end up helping people, but so many people I see think of it as like trying to be like some kind of superhero or something. And what demonology is being able to ascertain whether or not somebody actually is being confronted by something of pure evil, or possibly is suffering from some sort of personal trauma, dilemma, something that has absolutely no influence of evil whatsoever, but it may be some sort of mental illness, possibly. You have to go through all these things, and then you have to get the right person, a proper demonologist, to then take that. I mean, that's part of what I just explained is part of what they do, and be able to figure out what the next steps are, and figure out what's needed. And once again, as much as we're talking about that, there is some positivity with the TV shows. You watch something like Ghost Adventures where they're like, we got to do a emergency exorcism on somebody. That was in the Demon House film that Zach Bagans did. We got to have an emergency exorcism. What? It's a Catholic priest that's doing it. That's not how it works. It never works that way. It will never work that way. That is, no matter what, that is not how it works. No matter if you say that, oh, well, I saw the person climbing up the walls, they're, using, they're going across the ceiling, based with their head just, attached to the ceiling. That's demon. Let's get that's not how it works. I don't care what any of you say. So that's where you have to, and that's where people on the investigations, if they're not taught correctly, they think that's how it works, and they're going to emanate that. They're going to do that same sort of thing, and you end up with incorrect ways of doing things. But even worse, you get somebody who thinks that they've had success by reading a couple prayers or something that was never even, not even a demon to begin with, and they start calling themselves a demonologist. And I'm sorry, folks, I'm going to be perfectly honest. There are some people who are in this field and they are known demonologists, and they are not demonologists. I'm just going to be perfectly honest. I will not name names, but there are people who think that they are something that demons should be frightened of and stuff, and they are not demonologists. And you talk to true demonologists, and you will be able to see for yourself what that is. And, you talk to somebody and there's everything they see is a demon or something, or that the demons are seeking them out. That's always a good one as well. The demons are seeking them out because they are such a, there's such a threat to the demon's existence. And it's like that, once again, that's not how it works. And I'm sure there'll be people who are like, no, Greg, that's not true. They come to me all the time, and I show my cross and my crucifix or whatever. Okay, sure. But you talk to a true demonologist and you'll see, and I've talked to some who've been doing it for 30 some years. And it's like, of all the cases that you did, how many were truly, do you believe, were demonic? And the answer from somebody was 5%. Out of hundreds of cases that they looked at, took on, whatever else, they're like, yeah, 5% maybe. And I so many times, and we've done it, Shar and I investigate, and we take on cases. And earlier on, somebody wrote, see if I can find it here real fast. Patrick says, do you use pendulum during investigations? Occasionally do, but we do investigations so differently than everyone else. And we've taken on cases that had us wonder, like, is this something that's, possibly maybe demon related in some way? It just seems evil, doesn't seem right. At that point, we step away because we know people that we trust, and we pass it along to them. I'm not going to, even though I have such an interest in it, I'm not going to be like, well, I'll take care of this. It's more of like, okay, well, maybe this is something to send along to the people that we know and trust and see what they make of it. And, and see what they think. Because Shar's not a demonologist. I'm not a demonologist. In fact, we want to stay away from that, even though it's very interesting for me. I find it very interesting. I read a lot of books about it. And once again, just because I read a lot of books about it, and I've read a lot of books about it, does not make me a demonologist. It's as simple as that. And I say that because I know that there's people who've like, I've read a book about it. I've read a book about parapsychology. I've read a book about mediumship. Okay, that doesn't mean you're any of those things. If you read a book about, Fisher Price, my first lawyer or something, doesn't make you a lawyer. There are things that you have to do. So it's just it's something that you have to be careful about. And if you run into something and you think that, and someone's telling you that they're demonologists or whatever, just keep that in mind, that there's a lot of people who, and this is where the TV shows do frustrate me, because not all of them, I don't mean to generalize, but there's a number of them, though, that really kind of expedite things along because they have to. They don't have a lot of time to do stuff. They move things along. It's not real. It's entertainment. So you just want to be careful about that sort of thing, okay? That's all I want to say about that. Courtney says, I like how you explain it, Greg. It's so true. Any of this work is not to be taken lightly or to be played with. 100% true. And, once again, the paranormal shows, they are entertaining. Something like Haunted Discoveries, it's a very good show, and they do their very best to keep it grounded and real. Definitely check them out. Brandon Alves does Mustafa do a fantastic program on True TV. Everything else you watch, I hope you enjoy it, but always remember that whole idea that it's always, entertainment. We're going to be back tomorrow talking about film restoration. Divine will be with us on Wednesday, One Question Readings. Gosh, it's good to be back. I hope you join us tomorrow. Thank you all, and we'll be back tomorrow. Have a good night.